Every year, a bunch of like-minded people jump into old cars to raise money for kids in need in South Australia.
My name's James Dyer, this is Paul Brown.
Commonly known as Brownie, Red Wiggle, Fourth Bash. Why does the bash appeal to me? I just love this great country, raising money for a fantastic cause and doing it in an old Holden car. You know, how could you go wrong?
This year, there are 67 cars, 250 participants and a gruelling 8-day, 2,946 kilometre journey.
My name's Darren Greatrix and we've got the MASH 407 car, so the old F100 ambulance. I was really fortunate to find a car that was existing within the bash, and the chap that had it prior to me was a mechanic and had built the car from ground up. Incredibly fortunate to take over the old girl, which was good.
Some of the participants are car enthusiasts and others, well, they'll surprise you.
So what's this for?
That's just in there because it was in there.
I'm Michelle Redford. I've got Roz with me, my other teammates Helen and Tanya. So we're basically 4 crazy local mums.
But I'm just wondering, is it really stupid that we leave it in the box?
No, leave it on there.
The event is the SA Variety Bash, and this year the teams are travelling from Mawson Lakes up through the Flinders, right round to Broken Hill and finishing in Murray Bridge.
We're part of Team Wiggles, car number 03. We first got involved with the bash 2015. We went out for a friend's birthday, ended up at the house of Chow and met Roz Chow and saw all the trophies and paraphernalia behind the bar, and we started talking and she said, why don't you do it?
So I made a phone call and within 3 days we'd purchased a car. The car had done bash previously and had been for sale for a while. And like all bash cars, it was bash ready. So that's code for you've only got to spend another $10,000 on it.
We're away.
Toot toot, chugga big red car. We'll travel near and we'll travel far. Toot toot, chugga big red car. We're gonna ride the whole day long.
You beautiful man.
Ready for a fun week again?
I reckon.
This year we got a 21-year veteran in Hot Lips Houlihan, so that's Liz Travers. David Snowd, who's a clinger, he's coming up with his 15th year and been a huge supporter of variety. And this year we've also got our first virgin in the team in Anthony Mitten, so he's got no idea what he's in for, so it's going to be a bit of fun.
I'm the queen! That can hold our tarp up when it's raining. This year happens to be my 50th birthday, so that very quickly. And I said to the girls, rather than have a party, I'd love to do the bash, get a car, get a group of girls together and have a week away. I've not seen a lot of South Australian countryside, and I'm really looking forward to being able to see that on a different scale. And well, definitely, because we're going to be in a purple car driving through some pretty rough terrain.
The Variety Bash is important because the children are the future of this country. We've seen situations where they've given singing lessons, but then we see situations where they provide beds and chairs. And so it goes from one extent to the other, just so that the children of our country can feel like they are included and are equal to the typical children of the world who don't have those things to worry about. My own son, he was diagnosed when he was 7 years old with a bone disease, and we went through the processes. Sorry, I'm going.
It's a good story.
Where he was going to be needing a wheelchair for an indefinite period of time. Now, his disease, we are lucky, is life-changing, but it wasn't life-threatening. It was just a long-term process that we had to go through. And to have to spend 4 or 5 years in a wheelchair, not being the same as the other kids when he was at school, was tough. And I think to myself that there are families who go through this every day, forever. As much as I love to have fun and I joke about how crazy this event's going to be and how much fun we are going to have, it's humbling to know that I didn't have to use those resources, and that those resources that I could have used or may have needed to use can go to someone who's going to need it a lot longer than what I did. Yeah.
I'm Linton Paul from Adelaide. I'm involved with Variety for quite a few years. My involvement is as an official. I did have 5 years as a mobile workshop, 10 years as an entrant, and now this will be my 7th as an official. First heard of Variety when they assisted myself and my wife during a pretty rough time when my daughter Simone.
Hello.
Simone contracted meningitis at the age of 8 months, and it was a pretty disastrous sort of time to find out that she was going to live or die in the next 4 to 6 hours on arrival at the Children's Hospital. But as part of the residual damage from meningitis is your loss of hearing. Cochlear implants in those days were fairly new. There was only 5 done in '93, and 2 of those were paid for by the government. The other 3 were paid for by Variety. Simone has worked at, what was the one on McGill Road where you worked? Save the Children.
Oh, Save the Children, yeah.
Yeah, she's worked there volunteer. She's done some volunteer work at Variety. We know how it felt to receive, and so now it's very good to be able to participate in the giving. And the giving part of it is what drives the 300 people that'll take off this week on the bash, you know.
About 500 metres ago, we came around the corner to Woodmaker, we idled back there, we got here, I did have to turn off with the key.
Good old leaded cars.
Once we found out we needed to fundraise 9,500, look, honestly, we were nervous. It's we were like, okay, this is going to be a lot of sausage sizzles. And I must admit, we did do a few, and I'll never eat another barbecue sausage again.
I know a lot of people in the community.
She knows an extraordinarily amount of people in the community.
And they were very, very generous. Everyone I went to were happy to give me lots of donations. We're both very lucky to have our own families that are fit and well, grandkids, kids, and we can help with other people that aren't so lucky.
A very good friend of mine in Alice Springs had her 4th child and was just about to be dismissed from hospital, and the next minute she is in Melbourne in the heart unit. All the surgery didn't work, so he is still with us, and just very, very recently she was looking for help. Like, he's getting to the stage where, you know, he can kick a ball once and then he's out of breath. And she went through the National Disability, who weren't able to help her or weren't going to help her. So she very recently had Tim Adams, who's one of the big sponsors. Him and his wife came and visited her, and Variety is now going to give her a wheelchair, a new bed so he can recline and lay back and be comfortable. You know, she's a single mum, 4 kids, and Variety's going to help her. It's so cool. And I'm part of that now.
What's RF? Right
four.
Towards gate and ruin on the right-hand side.
Huh?
I'm just going with follow the person in front. Do you think it's a little bit weird that they've got all these instructions considering there's only one road?
I'm feeling a bit Wolf Creaky, to be honest.
Oh, God, could you not bring that up?
Oh my God.
Okay, Tanya.
Yes?
Just ride the brakes, darling.
Yep, I'm gone. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh, the oil lights on, oil lights on. Oh, there's a big hole. This is beautiful country through here.
Instead of me going on a beautiful summer holiday to Greece, why don't we get in a car and drive through the middle of nowhere?
Oh. Sorry, babe. Sorry, lovey. I
Still
just
going.
had to rev you a little bit.
Oh, it's going to be amusing watching these girls do their hair each day.
Oh, not me. Not me.
One of our team members.
I'm just wearing a
rolling up a swag.
My name's Michael Kelly. I'm from the southern suburbs. I work at Monrose. Been there since I was 17. The reason I'm doing the bash is I lost my wife, anyway, July 2018 to pancreatic cancer. She put up a hell of a fight. And firstly, it was hard for me. I was going down the wrong road. I guess I stopped going down that road, going nowhere, and found a purpose in life. My wife was a nurse and she loved helping kids, and we've always helped people all through our lives. So in her memory, I've built this bash car. This year we managed to raise over $22,000, and I've had sponsors, Monroe, people helping me with the car, and just getting out there talking about it is, you know, it's what I needed to do to get over such a bad thing. So I've turned something shitty into something good. And my wife wanted me to be happy, move on. So, like I say, in her memory, I'm actually bringing her on the bash with me, her ashes. I got no interest going overseas. I just want to see Australia, and this is seeing Australia for a cause. And I'm just proud to be able to pull $22,000 for kids in need this year.
So fundraising is probably the most difficult thing. I mean, always asking people for money. It sounds daunting, but it's actually quite a simple task in the end because Variety is such an iconic brand out there.
You hear things on TV, somebody's doing it badly, and you just want to give. Put it back on yourself more. What if I was in that position? And I think a lot of Aussies are like that. Yeah.
We get sponsorship from a lot of our suppliers, and the Blue Wiggle, he's a customer, and so he's jumped on board, so he's got connections to a lot of his suppliers.
We had people just throwing $50 vouchers at us, $70 backpacks. We sold $1,000 worth of tickets for Easter egg. Who knew chocolate could draw that much money out of people?
You see it all the time, don't you? Australians, in times of crisis or natural disasters, you want everyone to rally around you, and everyone just helps each other out to get them back on their feet and enjoying life again. And Australians are definitely known for, 10 out of 10 for their efforts that they give to look after each other.
One thing that Variety do exceptionally well is show you where the money goes. Along this whole journey, we've given out, hundreds of thousands of bucks to all different communities, all different remote communities, and we actually get to see where that goes.
Fundraising is the focal point of your year, and that has taken over perhaps in one way my life. From bash to bash, you're always focusing on how you can raise the money for the next bash. All my life I've always had that charitable arm on the side of my life. Even when I was a young kid growing up in Whyalla, I used to work for the Spastic Centre and raise money for them, and that's always fun, getting out into the outback. Putting on your costume and taking on that persona. All the guys here in the MASH car, we really think we're army people. Like we've done this a few years in a row, and yesterday we pulled over the side of the road and we ran into some real army blokes with huge big artillery tanks. And we sort of like slid right in there. That's always very funny when you really think you're somebody else for the week.
We headed out early. There's no official fun stop today, but we're just going to do a little impromptu fun stop at lunch.
Yeah, this is a bit bumpy today. So this Wiggle machine, big red car, 5 litre 308 V8, 4 bucket seats, about 140 litres of fuel with the help of a second fuel tank in the boot. So we've got about 400 kilometre range. We've got a speaker out the front that belts out the tunes, big red car all day, every day. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know a lot about variety itself before I got involved in the bash. It's amazing what variety can do. Everywhere we go, we change people's lives.
Oh, we were just driving along and we thought there's a knock, there's plenty of knocks, but this was an unusual knock, and it got louder and louder, and we thought we'd better pull over, and what happened? Flat tyre.
We've got a spare parts list, and one of the things is we must take a jack. It doesn't say, is the jack actually operational? So, yeah, failure on my part, 10-year-old Chinese jack, fail.
So back when we were younger, it used to be Greg and Sam with Guy Yellow Wiggles, and then Emma's been around for 10 years. So on our first batch, I dressed as Greg.
For a day.
For a day, and then the kids are saying, where's Emma? Where's Emma? And I actually bought an outfit to wear on that first batch, just as a joke.
Now, I constantly ask any child, who was your favourite Wiggle in my red Wiggles costume, and it's always Emma.
And then Brownie says, you are stuffed now. You're going to be Emma going forward, and I've been Emma ever since.
Captain Feathersword fell asleep on his pirate ship. Then he woke up on a farm.
If I remember back to my childhood, there was some family friends and they had a child that was autistic. This kid was quite severely affected, yet could play the piano by ear and did it brilliantly. It made me realise that things aren't binary, they're not black and white. Yes, this kid had some significant challenges in life, but he also had some significant ability. But variety helps kids make the most of themselves, makes the most of their capability and live the best possible life, and I think, that, to me, that's very important. I think Australians are generous people, especially the people who don't have a lot. I really enjoy it when we go to a town, and we've seen it over the last couple of days when the local footy club or the bowls club or the tennis club caters for dinner. It puts a lot of money back into the local community. Occasionally it's when we're in a town, someone mentions to us that there's another local cause. It may not be directly involved with variety, and perhaps they're selling raffle tickets, and all of a sudden there's a couple of $1,000s raised amongst the bashers.
Do you remember on our first bash, when we were driving down the road, the crash test dummies?
Mm.
So we were driving up, there was OVs and they're all waving slow down, and we're going, oh no, this doesn't look good. And because being virgins, we didn't But in the end, when we were driving past, we realised it was all just a staged drive-by, sort of a fun stop thing, and the crash test dummies were just sprawled all over the road, and then you get it. But prior to that, it was like when we first saw it, we were both shocked. We're going, oh no, this is not good. But, so, I mean, this is the stuff that happens on the dash. It's some crazy stuff.
We're max and milling this year, so we're looking after the cash. People here are trying to get a good deal. It's not going to happen today.
I can't unsee that ever.
Picking up pancake, Akarula style. Say ah.
We have bluefin tuna from Port Lincoln. The Shakes are providing King George whiting this afternoon. Wonderful fish. Thank you.
These are Spencer Gold prawns, the best in Australia. Only the best will do for variety bashes.
An oil change and a grease up. No, that's not the same. What's the saying? What's the saying? Someone help me out. Everyone needs a... No, got lost me. Grease up and an oil... No, an oil... An oil up and a... What's the saying?
For us, the fundraising is a full-time job on top of our full-time jobs. Because we're such a small community, we are a big family, and it's not just because we're Catholic and related to everyone.
Emma is.
That's like, we are second cousins. That's not even a joke. But like, we do know each other, and I think everyone knows someone that's benefited from variety or a family that could benefit.
And my kids love it. They love watching it on the TV. They're so proud of us for doing it, and they're like, oh, we'll come out and help with the fundraising. They've come out and done a lot of the support with it. I'm just so proud to be able to give them the opportunity to learn early that you give back to communities. You support your friends and your family, and it doesn't matter if it's a stranger. If someone's in need, then you help out.
Put your back into it.
we're doing this, you just think, wow, how amazing is this going to be for another family? Because no family needs financial hardship. They've got enough going on. Taking that burden away, like keeping families together.
We raised $105,000, but that's not nearly enough for the kids of South Australia and what they need and their families. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. It wasn't that much work for us to go out there and make that money, and we've got everything that we need, and to go out there and make that much difference for one family, it just makes you feel good in your heart.
Variety is just not a specific charity for one specific cause. They help a whole bunch of other charities, whether it be, cancer or maybe disabled or, hasn't got that mobility. Variety do everything they can to help those people and then provide them with a grant. And without them, I think there'd be a lot of charities that would be struggling as well. So.
One of the things that happens to you on the bash, every now and then there's a bit of a defining moment that sort of really slams home to you why you do it. And one of those moments that I can recall is we were at the Keith area school and we gave them a donation for the community. And the principal of that school then came to speak with us that night, and he made the most emotional speech to us.
You've made a difference because you've cared for people. Not just the children at Keith Area School, but heaps of other people. Some of those kids, their hearts are going to sing for joy because of what you've done.
And he said that as much as we're having a hell of a lot of fun doing the fundraising and having a lot of fun on the bash, he said, don't ever lose sight of the fact of what an enormous impact that we're having on these kids. And this guy got a standing ovation because there wasn't a dry eye in that hall, because nobody had really thought about it from that point of view, and nobody realised that there were such disadvantaged children in an area like Keith. That was a defining moment for me, and those little moments just keep you going.
Great skill there. I'm Phil Sleep. I'm from a farming family, and we'd had a few hard years. Mum and Dad were doing their absolute best. When Variety come along and offered this computer package to me, it gave me access to this whole new world that I'd never experienced before. Because I had internet, I had this computer that I could just go nuts on and type up my assignments and stuff like that. That really changed my life. It showed that I wasn't just a wheelchair bloke, just out in the bush there being forgotten. There were people out there that really cared.
Today we're presenting, and we have the very privilege of presenting, a grant to the Madison Park School Disability Unit. And Variety has just granted the school with a magnificent sunshine coat. These things are superb. They allow the kids to get out and about, and that is the most important thing.
Being given this bus today, we couldn't thank you guys enough. That allows us to give all these students the opportunity to get out and about just like the other students can all the time.
People say, why do you do this? And you spend so much time, you know, you've got your own business to run and, you know, you must be busy doing that, and how do you ever find the time? And I mean, my answer is that busy people always find the time. And when you find something that you resonate with, and if we didn't do it, I mean, what would happen? Who would help these kids?
It goes from one end to the other. It's infinite what we can do as a group of mums, as a group of 80 cars or however many are on it. It's been absolutely mind-blowing. Like, I know that sounds like a cliche. No one in this community that we live in or that we are involved in have said no.
Quite addictive, the bash, like in obviously the best way possible. There were previous bashes at the finish line today that obviously couldn't come this year, but they were there and they were excited to see us. And
I bet they still fundraised.
They probably still fundraised and they just couldn't go. So, you know, and we get a lot of support at our fundraisers from ex-bashers and those sorts of things. And it's sort of, once you start supporting it and you realise how important the money you're raising is to some people, it sort of just makes you want to keep doing it.
Did you notice today that, and I've seen this over the years, but a lot of bashers actually have disabled children as well?
Yeah.
And so they'll be on the finish line, they'll be holding, you know, arm in arm or hand in hand with their child or sibling or whatever, and you go, right, okay.
In 2009, I actually did do a bash. Best 3 days of my life. A bunch of people from all walks of life just come together for a common good. It doesn't matter whether you're a farmer or a doctor or a lawyer or a gym instructor. You're all equal and you're all there for exactly the same reason, and that is for the children of South Australia.
Thank you all for a great week. It's one we never really want to end. You are all great ambassadors for the best charity and best event in South Australia, and I'm really proud of what you've all pulled off in the last couple of years, but this year especially. So many virgins, new bashers. Thank you, bashers.
Yeah, they're waxed. Yeah. That's for my cycling.
I got nervous driving through that mud. Oh yeah, that was crazy. That mud was crazy.
The trick to having a stuffed compass award is to get lost, but to make sure that 10 cars follow you, so they also get lost.
Two galahs in a ute.
Or is it two
Galahs in a falcon, sorry. Galahs in a falcon. Our name is two galahs in a falcon because I love Fords. So.
Trust me, I'm looking right where I'm driving and it looks beautiful.
Oh,
You're not actually allowed to video me on here because you can tell I'm not doing anything, Russell. Worked it out. It's a grease and an oil change.
We're the best friends that anyone can have.
But yep, Presley.